Welcome to the SecurePOS video demonstration. SecurePOS is a standalone point-of-sale software application that installs and runs on virtually any Windows PC. With SecurePOS, there's no need to purchase a traditional hardware POS terminal. In addition, SecurePOS can be enhanced by numerous hardware accessories, including card readers, signature capture devices, and numeric pin pads. In addition to supporting multiple hardware devices, SecurePOS allows for increased user access management, customized timeout settings, and effectively turns your PC into a full-service point-of-sale system. SecurePOS can perform the following transactions: sale, authorization and capture transactions, or authorization-only transactions, refund, void, and capture. To run transactions most efficiently and quickly, most merchants will want to run credit card sale transactions by swiping the payment card through a card reader and allowing SecurePOS to read the track data from the magnetic strip. If a card reader is not available, it is still possible for the merchant to type in the credit card number and other card data manually using the computer's keyboard. Click on the SecurePOS icon located on your desktop to access SecurePOS. Enter the username and password to log in. To run a sale transaction, slide the credit card through the card reader. The card number and other data will automatically appear in their respective data fields. Enter the sale amount in dollars and cents, and then click the button labeled Process. After the transaction is processed, an automatically generated transaction ID number, approval code, and the status of the transaction will appear in the transaction result box. As shown here, this particular transaction has been approved. You can now print a receipt by clicking the button labeled Print Receipt. To run a sale transaction without a card reader, click the button labeled Manual Process and use the computer's keyboard to enter all data manually. Sale transactions are typically run as authorization and capture. However, SecurePOS does have the ability to run authorization-only transactions. Authorization-only transactions, or auth-only transactions, are used by merchants in certain industries to ensure payment card is valid and has adequate credit available. For example, a canoe rental company may run an auth-only transaction in the amount of $100 to ensure that there is sufficient credit line available on the customer's payment card to cover a typical rental. To run an authorized-only transaction in SecurePOS, go to Settings, Application Settings, and check the box labeled Default to Auth-Only Transaction for Sale. Now keep in mind, once this box is checked and the settings are saved, all transactions will be run as auth-only until the box is unchecked and saved. A refund transaction is a transaction in which a previously settled transaction is refunded. To process a refund through SecurePOS, you must have the transaction ID number. This is also known as a linked refund. To process a refund transaction, click on the tab labeled Refund. Slide the customer's card through the card reader. If the card is not available, click on the button labeled Manual Process and enter the card information manually using the computer's keyboard. Enter the amount and the transaction ID number of the original transaction, whether it be partial or the full amount. Key in any other applicable fields, then click on the button labeled Process. If the transaction is processed successfully, the word Approved will appear in the transaction result box. You may print a receipt at this time by clicking the button labeled Print Receipt. A void is different from a refund transaction, because the cancellation or voiding of a transaction can only be done on a transaction that has not yet been settled. Most merchants automatically settle each day's transaction late in the evening, say 10 p.m. In such case, any transaction that must be canceled during the course of the same day should be voided and not refunded. To void a transaction, click the tab labeled Void. Enter the transaction ID number and then click the button labeled Lookup. The card number, transaction amount, and other information from the initial sale will appear automatically. To continue with the void transaction, click the button labeled Process. The transaction result box will display the new transaction ID number and the status of the transaction. In this case, the void transaction has been voided. A capture transaction is used to complete a previous auth-only transaction. For example, in the case of the canoe rental, after the customer returns the canoe in acceptable condition, he is charged the actual amount of the rental, say $78, through a capture transaction. Notice that the capture transaction amount is lower than the authorized amount. This is possible, however, it is also possible for the capture transaction amount to be higher than the authorized amount. To run a capture transaction, click the tab labeled Capture. Key in the transaction ID number and click Lookup. The original transaction information will appear. You may change the transaction amount at this time. Click Process to run the capture transaction. The transaction result box will display the transaction ID number and the status of the transaction. In this case, the transaction has been approved. When using SecurePOS to run any transaction, you have the option of entering and viewing additional information, including comment lines, and much more. To learn more about these features, please refer to the SecurePOS online help guide at spos.securenet.com.